Spec overlay is to overlay spec from user-created spec library on active plot. For example, this plot shows two channels of PSD and we wish to overlay some spec data onto these PSD. First, right mouse click to show its menu. The menu has two different mode: Setup mode and Processing mode. Setup mode is to import data to create a new spec in spec library. Since data import is based on basket file, user need to first prepare all the spec data such as this plot with 5 spec lines, and save it to a basket file using this basket button. Then in the spec overlay menu, click on this import spec data from basket file button. Select the basket file such as the spec library.mdb. Then click open. All the basket data will be imported into this table. If the basket file includes multiple subplot, then each subplot represents a spec line. In this case, there are 5 spec line, and the number of points in each spec line are listed under this column. In addition to spec data, there are also 4 columns of optional ID for representing each spec line, including ID 1, ID 2, ID 3, and ID 4. By double-clicking on any ID cell, user can key in any desired ID to replace these initial ID. Another way is to import all ID from an Excel file such as this one, which includes 4 columns of ID. The first row is ID title, and the rest rows are the desired ID for each spec line. Total number of row equates to total number of spec line plus 1. To import this file, simply click on this Import Spec ID from Excel button. Select the Excel file such as the spec library id.xslx. Then click Open. The spec ID are now imported into this table. The last step is to save this table into spec library. From this pull-down list, select a spec library number and name such as this number 5 demo spec OVL. Then click on this Save to Spec Library button. It will save the table into spec library. Next we can switch the menu from Setup mode to Processing mode for spec overlay. From this pull-down list, select the desired spec from spec library. Then click on this Open Spec Library button. The selected spec will be shown in this table. Check on the checkbox to turn on the desired spec lines, such as number 3 and 4. Turn on this checkbox if wish to specify line thickness for different spec lines. If line thickness is based on ID number 1, and thickness for different ID group number are 2 and 4, then it means ID number 1, which is type, will be used to subgroup for line thickness assignment. And for the first subgroup, that is the 3 random type, their line thickness will be 2. And for the second subgroup, that is the 2 sign type, their line thickness will be 4. Use these 2 Open/Save buttons to save the current setting for later use. Finally, click Overlay Spec button to overlay the selected spec lines on active plot. The random spec line is now overlay on the PSD as the red line, and the sign spec line is also overlay as the thicker blue line.